Okay, virtual circuit riders, we are moving onward, and now you see that we're doing this together. I am your mentor, and you're riding with me, and so we go further and learn together. We're making a transition from British missionaries, sent by Wesley to the American colonies, to the indigenous leaders of North America. And that's a usual transition any missionary movement has to make. This person here, William Waters, born in 1751, dies in 1827, is the first native-born preacher. In our records, we have William Waters from the very first annual conference appointment list to New Jersey, and William Waters is counted along with Freeborn Garrison as the first native-born American preachers. They ascend in power as the British missionaries descend in power from the American Revolutionary period. We saw that William Waters was already appointed in 1773. Freeborn Garrison is appointed, his first appointment, 1776. But during this period, colonial Anglicanism, which is the symbiotic host of Methodism, has really collapsed, and all of British missionaries, except for Asbury and King, have returned to Britain. Methodism is seen to have crown loyalties, but this leaves an open opportunity in the field for indigenous leaders like Freeborn Garrison and William Waters. Many of them are persecuted. We have stories in all of their diaries, which we have, of persecution, being knocked from horses, tarred and feathered, scarred, put in jail. Here, Freeborn Garrison was put in jail because he would not swear out an oath of allegiance to Maryland or to Delaware. And all of these American-born Methodists were required, as the American Revolution went forward, to swear out an oath to their local militias, as all young adults were required, and many of them did not. They sought to be conscientious objectors, and this laid them open even more to the cause of being allied with Great Britain. So they are persecuted. Asbury goes into the Delaware swamps in the back of the home of Judge White, who supports him, and basically throughout the Revolutionary period, indigenous Methodists are the only ones holding the possibility of even preaching, which we will see forever changes the landscape of American Methodism. It will always, after the Revolutionary period, be a more indigenous movement, open to more democratic spirits. Even Asbury himself, who emerges from the swamps after being sought after by the Delaware militia, has his baptism by swamp into American democracy. John Wesley does not help matters at all when he decides to write in favor of the crown as a representative of the divine right of kings. He cautions the American colonists on their plea for independence in 1775 and completely discredits the movement as a Methodist, as those that should be on the side of the crown against the colonists. And he argued in his calm address to our American colonies, which was unfortunately spread by his British missionaries, particularly Robert Williams. This caused no end of problems for Methodists. People like Freeborn Garretson and William Waters were, and Philip Gatch, whom we will meet here in a minute, were all men who suffered mightily at the hands of American colonists who thought that if they were representatives of the divine right of kings, they were no friend of liberty. As you can see here, in the absence of leadership controlled by Wesley in Britain, and with the persecution of people like Freeborn Garretson put in jail, people like Philip Gatch tarred and feathered, and William Waters sent to the four winds, it didn't look very optimistic for the Methodist movement. But these native-born preachers found ways to meet together during the American Revolution. Even when people like Captain Thomas Webb had been deported for being a spy, it was quite a challenge for the American-born Methodist to convey that they would rise and fall with the American population. To that degree, Methodists met in Fluvanna County, Virginia in 1779 after Philip Gatch, native-born preacher, had founded this important circuit. Gatch and other Southern preachers, when you say Southern from the 1770s, you mean south of from Maryland southward. Philip Gatch meets with Southerners in the absence of Asbury, who is seen as Wesley's authority figure, and they decide that the movement cannot survive unless they agree to form a committee of elders or a presbytery to ordain and provide sacraments for the growing societies. Now that the field is left open, the Church of England parish priests, particularly in Virginia, who were sympathetic to the Methodists, like Deborah Jarrett, who worked on the Brunswick Circuit with George Shadford. Now that these parish priests with sacramental authority are gone, the Southern Methodists of Virginia southward decide that we should become more Presbyterian and simply lay hands on each other and ordain. And we have from the minutes of the conference of 1779, kept by Philip Gatch, who we don't have a picture of, there's 6,086 members, and the key question is, what shall we do? What are our reasons for taking up the administration of the ordinance of sacraments? Because the Episcopal establishment is now dissolved, and therefore in almost all our circuits the members are without the sacramental ordinances, we believe is our duty. So we approve of what steps. Philip Gatch and elders put together a committee, and they agreed to lay hands under the Presbyterian form by a majority of preachers to invest power in people under their hand to administer the ordinance themselves. And so in 1779 at the Fluvanna Conference, in the absence of Asbury and of William Waters, I might add, who is still supportive of the old Wesleyan plan to maintain no sacramental authority, only relating to truly ordained churches, the Southern Methodists split and almost become Presbyterians. From 1779, they continue to, in the Robert Strawbridge order of ministry to preach, to ordain, and to baptize. By 1780 and 1781, it's apparent that the American Revolution will emerge with the Americans as an independent colony, and Asbury emerges from the swamp in Delaware and is able to reconvene with Gatch, Waters, and others and hold off sacramental authority and a Presbyterian style of ministry, asking that they just desist from celebrating of sacraments until they can get word from Wesley in Great Britain, who through letter writing, Asbury is optimistic that some form of sacramental authority will be offered. And so we leave the end of the American Revolution in this situation. We can see that the war was hard on the Philadelphia and the New York societies. Both of these areas were under British rule, and so these areas experienced loss of membership, the Norfolk Society, but going southward, Methodism was able to survive through the work, maybe perhaps unauthorized work of the native-born Americans. And you can see up until 1783, the end of hostilities, the number of preachers continue to rise, so does the membership, but the rise is in the area, the Church of England area, that has vacated the southern states from Virginia southward to Georgia. And therein lies the situation up until the end of the American Revolution. So the American Revolution moves the center of gravity of the Methodist circuit southward. It leaves American Methodism more tenuous and yet at the same time more open and more dominated by Methodists who were born in America, like William Waters, Philip Gatch, and freeborn Garretson. Asbury will emerge from the swamp as the Revolutionary War concludes in 1783, and the question is, how will Methodism in America as a movement of native-born Americans relate to Wesley in Great Britain, who is still alive, and how will the movement provide ministry orders when it has always been a renewal movement of the Anglican, or the Church of England, and now that church at the end of the Revolution in America, the Revolutionary period, has basically left the field. Can American Methodism survive as an independent movement? Wesley will be put to the question how he will provide sacramental orders, and really it's the Strawbridge question that emerges, even though Strawbridge does not live after 1781 to see the end of the Revolutionary period. I think his way was the visionary way that Methodists would have to provide with their conversionary preaching, a way to nurture not only this new movement, this Wesleyan movement in America, but to find a way to nourish the newfound nation. And we will enter into that question in our next period.